Welcome to Bantu Life and Culture, where the mysteries are being revealed. Join us as we journey together through the scriptures to explore yet another teaching. There's a growing belief that the weekly Sabbath must fall on specific dates, namely the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th day of each month. Let's examine the scriptures to verify the validity of this teaching. We'll start by looking at Genesis chapter 1 verses 1 to 5, which describes Sonini Nanini's creation of the world. Verse 5 states, Sonini Nanini called the light day, and the darkness he called night. The evening and the morning were the first day. Sonini Nanini rested on the seventh day, as we've seen in Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. Sonini Nanini rested on the seventh day after he worked for 6 days. Sonini Nanini commanded us to follow his example in Exodus 29-11, of working for 6 days, then resting on the seventh. Therefore, it's logical to conclude that the counting of days starts anew after the seventh day. This 7-day cycle raises questions about the belief that the Sabbath must fall on specific dates. If we were to continue counting after the seventh day to the next Sabbath, we would end up at the 14th, the 21st and 28th, which contradict the teaching that the Sabbath must fall on the 15th, 22nd and 29th. And how would we account for the extra days in each month if we wait until the beginning of the new month to start counting again? Notably, the Bible never mentions an 8-day week, and this is apparent from the onset. One possible source of this erroneous teaching is Leviticus chapter 23, verse 39, which describes the memorial of tabernacles. On the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a memorial to Sonini Nanini for 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. Hence, the first day of the memorial would have been on the 15th, and the 8th day of the memorial would be on the 22nd of the 7th month. A fitting example of this counting is this. You have been scheduled to attend a 3-day meeting from March 3 to March 5, and the agenda indicates that on the first day will be a full lecture, and on the third day will be a team-building exercise. The understanding is clear that the 3rd day of March is the first day of the meeting, and the 5th day of March is the 3rd day of the meeting. Context is very important. You can also see a similar instruction regarding the Memorial of Tabernacles in Numbers chapter 29, verses 1 through to 34. Leviticus chapter 23 mentions multiple memorials, including the weekly Sabbath, unleavened bread, firstfruits, trumpets, and tabernacles, to name a few. Each memorial had a distinct and significant date, and tabernacles is the only memorial with an 8-day observance. This annual gathering commemorates Sonini Nanini's provision for the Bantu in the wilderness, as described in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 43, and I quote, "That your generations may know that I made the children of Jacobi to dwell in booths, when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Sonini Nanini." The weekly Sabbath, on the other hand, commemorates creation, as stated in Exodus chapter 20, verses 9 to 11. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of Sonini Nanini. For in 6 days Sonini Nanini made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Wherefore, Sonini Nanini blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. As you can see, the weekly Sabbath is directly linked to the creation week and occurs after every 6 days, and no specific dates were given. On the other hand, while the Memorial of Tabernacles starts on the 15th of the 7th month, similarly to the Memorial of Unleavened Bread, which falls on the 15th of the first month, the mere fact that a date in a month was indicated for both shows they are not weekly, but annual Sabbaths, much like your birthday, which falls on a specific date in a month and occurs only once a year. Therefore, the 15th and 22nd of the 7th month are indeed Sabbaths, but just as the scriptures indicate, they were dates in a specific month related to the annual Memorial of Tabernacles. There's no biblical evidence to support the notion that the weekly Sabbath falls on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of every month. In fact, to make the error of substantiating the 15th day Sabbath using the memorial dates even more obvious, the 15th was the start day of the memorial, hence 7 days from the 15th will be the 21st, not the 22nd. We repeat, the 15th day of the first month and the 15th day of the 7th month are specific to annual events, not weekly occurrences. There's also the belief that the counting of the days for the Sabbath must start anew each month, and the first day of each month is called a nun day or a nun work day. This is laughable. How does a day become a nun day? It's either a day or it is not a day. If it's a day, then you must count it. If it's not a day, then it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, then you'd still end up with the 7th counted day being the Sabbath. Do you see the confusion in this teaching? How does one even begin to believe such a teaching? What is a day? Whichever way you reckon a day, whether from sunset to sunset or from sunrise to sunset or from midnight to midnight, it is a day. It cannot be a nun day. Our Creator did not name any day as a nun day. However, as much as they would hate to admit it, believers of this doctrine still do count this nun day as a day, because that's how they ended up with an 8th day Sabbath as they started counting from the nun day of each month. This teaching can blow one's mind if you try to wrap your head around it. Yet people believe it. This teaching has its origin, it is called the lunar Sabbath teaching. However, it is not from Sonini Nanini, but rather from the Babylonians, and can be easily proven by a simple Google search. Thank you for examining the scriptures with us to uncover the truth about this teaching regarding the lunar Sabbath. Continue to study to show yourself approved unto Sonini Nanini as the scripture encourages in 2 Timothy 2:15. Thanks for staying with us. It was a pleasure sharing with you. See you next time.